Hey YouTube, it's Monica. Today I'm going to answer a question that I get all the time, and that is, am I going to homeschool my kids all the way through? The short answer is yes, and the confusing answer is probably. So what they're saying is, are you going to homeschool your kids through high school? So there's two sort of implied questions here. One is, do you think you're qualified? Yeah. No, do you think you're qualified, and are you worried about socialization? I think that's a major concern that people have. So let's start with, do you think you're qualified? So when people ask this, this is coming from a perspective where you send your kids to somewhere and a bunch of experts fill your kids' brains with knowledge. I am not in charge of filling my child's brain with knowledge. That's not what you do as a homeschool parent. You are more of a mentor, more of a guide, right? For example, my daughter wants to learn Chinese. You don't think I'm teaching my daughter Chinese, do you? But I'm perfectly capable of finding classes or a tutor. So right now my daughter has a tutor. It may not last forever, and I may get a class, but that's what she's doing right now. And she also does an app on my phone. You figure out a way to help your child learn. You don't necessarily teach them everything, right? I do teach some things. I'm pretty good at math. Certainly all the basic math, including algebra and geometry, I'm pretty good at it. And if I don't know it, it's very easy for me to look it up and understand it. I'm not confused, okay? I can teach that. I can teach Spanish fairly well, at the beginning level for sure. There's things that I can do. I'm good at writing. I can do that. Grammar, not a problem. Spelling, I'm okay with that. It's funny because I'm actually not a fantastic speller, but I'm getting better because I'm learning with my kids, because I'm perfectly capable of learning all the concepts. So I have gotten a program and I have learned along with my kids, to tell you the truth. But another important difference between homeschoolers and kids who go to school that I think will benefit them tremendously in life is that homeschoolers are learning how to teach themselves. But kids should be able to walk themselves through things and learn it. That is what I'm really, really teaching my kids. I am really teaching them to take charge of their days and to teach themselves and to take responsibility for their education. And that's a really big difference between homeschoolers and kids who go to school. Kids who go to school are just, here is your program for what you're going to do from beginning to end. Do it. Read, memorize, regurgitate. It's just not what we do. So, am I qualified? In certain areas I'm qualified to teach it. And if I'm not qualified to teach it, like with Chinese, I'm certainly bright enough to figure out how to find a tutor or how to find a class. The second implied question is, what about socialization? Are you worried that your kid is going to be a social weirdo? Right? That's not an entirely unfair question. I think there are some weird homeschoolers. By weird, I mean socially awkward. But you know what? A lot of those kids were in school, and they're just socially awkward little people, and they can't help it. And they were teased, and they were bullied, and they were mistreated. And you know what their parents did? Their parents protected them. And they took them out of school, and they homeschooled them, and now they're a homeschool weirdo. Right? That's what we're talking about largely. We're talking about kids, and do you think leaving a socially awkward kid in school is going to benefit them to be bullied and mistreated? Is that going to help them? That's not going to help them. I'm glad their parents took them out of school, and now they're part of this homeschooling group and giving us all a little bit of a reputation for being weirdos. When you are in school, there's this sort of like equalizing effect. No one wants to be too different, right? If someone comes to school with a cool pair of shoes, people either say how stupid they are or how cool they are, and then if they're cool, the other kids start to get them too. If they're stupid, that kid stops wearing the shoes. There's this like weird equalizing effect, this sort of like, I wouldn't say the kids are all the same, but they kind of are a little bit, because kids don't want to be picked on, basically. When you're homeschooled, that is drastically reduced. The kids, my kids do go to activities. If they're too different, I'm sure it would be pointed out and they wouldn't like it. But they don't experience that as much. My kids so far have not wanted to wear certain brands of clothing. They haven't been weird about their shoes, their hair really. But there's not a weird preoccupation with image. And so, as a result, with homeschoolers, you're going to get more unique individuals. And in my opinion, that's good. That's not weird. That's like a delightful variety that I think should be celebrated. I don't think it should be considered weird, and I don't think people do consider it weird. I think they're thinking of some of those socially awkward kids. So when we're talking about socialization, I'm not worried about my kid being weird or different. I want my kid to be unique. Are you worried about socialization, right? That's a question that we get as homeschoolers. And yeah, I'm like super worried. I would be super worried if my kids were in a school about the socialization that they would encounter in that school. I think it's really strange that parents of kids who go to school ask me this question. It's a very weird question. The socialization is so unnatural and so bizarre in schools, and you're asking me if I'm worried about socialization? Not really. My kids are around people of all ages, around adults. They can talk to all different people. A lot of kids who are in schools, not all of them, but a lot of them, are actually pretty socially awkward outside of their own age group. So if they're around adults or they're around little kids, a lot of them don't interact well. A lot of them are actually quite awkward. They're only comfortable within an age range of 1 or 2 years away from their own age. Not to mention all of the socialization that is just really bad. when you say just being mean to other people and how that's sort of normalized, and being kind of like jerks, doing really, really rude pranks, and how that sort of stuff gets normalized, and how doing drugs gets normalized, and how, having sex at a really early age is normalized, possibly even encouraged. So that's the kind of socialization. It's not a healthy socialization. It's not good. I would be worried about that. Am I worried about the socialization that my child gets? No, I think it's pretty good. That's why I do it. I'm not worried. And just one last thing that I'd like to talk about. Will I homeschool my kid all the way through high school, is what they mean. Yes. Because I look at those high school years as a time for your emerging adult, your young adult, to become an independent adult. And I think what happens a lot of times is when kids go to public school or private school, they go to school, they're just really not adults when they graduate. They're immature, actually. And I want to guide my kids to think about career possibilities, to start getting their feet wet with what they might want to do. Maybe we do some sort of internship. Maybe we just do interviews where we talk to people and get a better idea of the different types of engineer that you could be, for example. I want them to start moving in an adult direction. And that way, I think we're failing kids. I think a lot of 18-year-olds are just sad. They're not adults. And this is a problem. And a lot of it has to do with the expectations that parents have. A lot of parents just don't expect a 17 or an 18-year-old to behave like a young adult. They have low expectations, honestly. And it's not helped when your kid goes to a school and they're surrounded by hundreds of other young adults whose parents think of them as children and have very low expectations of those young adults. So, yeah, I don't think that that's a positive thing. So for that reason, I would want to homeschool all the way through. And then the last reason would be because my understanding is that when your kid is high school age in California, we live in California, that they can get community college for free. And regardless of whether they get it for free or not, I want them to enter community college around 16 because generally speaking, that is possible. I want them to be capable of that. Now, of course, I don't want them just to go to college, just to go to college. I mean, if they have a career goal, that would require college. I want them to be capable of going to college at that age, so they can get a nice start on life. So they're not going to school all the way until they're like 30. You know, I want them to do well and be comfortable. And I didn't enjoy feeling like I was going to school forever, and I don't want my kids to have to experience that. So that's all I have for you today. If you haven't done so already, please follow me on YouTube. And if you like this video, please click thumbs up and please share with your friends. And in the meantime, happy homeschooling and have a great day.